Hiya, Patrick. How the devil are you, sir?
I'm very good, Terry. How are you?
I'm fine. Thank you very much. Good result football-wise for Liverpool today. So I'm in a happy mood.
Yeah. I'd actually missed the Salah goal because I was out refereeing myself.
Yeah,
I do, as the man said, I don't get enough abuse at home, so I'm a football referee as well.
We'll talk about that now. Shall I call you, is it Patrick, Paddy, Pat? What do you prefer?
Well, I tell you, I'm called a few different things, but my parents call me Patrick. My dad is Paddy,
Yeah,
and my granddad was Paddy. So Patrick or Paddy, it doesn't matter to me.
Paddy, I'll drop him. My dad was Pat. Well, he was a Patrick, but Pat Mealia, he's known as Pat.
Pat Neely, yeah. So Paddy or Patrick?
Oh, that's fine. That's good. So you've been, before we talk about your writing, can we talk about yourself? You just mentioned you're doing a football refereeing, but what your hobbies are, what you do in your spare time.
Yeah, no problem. Well, I'm currently a referee with the FAI, so it's like the FA, the equivalent.
Yeah.
So I mostly do, we'd say, schoolboy games.
Yeah.
Schoolgirl games, not senior game, but they're kind of a bit more. They all think they're Messi or Ronaldo, and they're not. And then they expect me to be, we'll say, the top class referee. You do your best, but you've no assistance and you've no VAR.
Oh.
So that's, I do that to keep fit. And then I also coach juveniles under 13s this year with my local GAA club.
Yeah.
So that keeps me busy, in between everything else. Sport plays sport plays a huge part of our family. My dad is kind of he's the current vice president of the Irish Amateur Boxing Association. So he's been all over the world with that. They kind of pick different Irish managers. So every fella and woman that's boxing, we'll say the last so many years, the owl lad has probably been with them, brought them all over the world. So all the Olympic boxers and stuff, he's
brilliant.
So that's so sport. Now I never did boxing, as the man said. I was a better runner. I talk myself out of an argument quicker than I'd box it. Old darts as well. There's an old dartboard there behind us. So
I'm Winston.
He used to play in the darts league, but a long time ago. It was more of an excuse to get out during the week for a few drinks.
Yeah, an excuse.
But like sport plays a big thing. I've a young lad played semi-professional as well. Yeah. Goalkeeper for his sins, and so yeah.
Was your dad a boxer himself, or was he a trainer?
He was, yeah. All Ireland champion back in his day. Yeah, he was. He was a featherweight, but there's a good story. Himself and his pal went to England to. They were going to go professional. This would have been back in. My dad was born 1938, so this would have been probably late 50s. And he went over, him and his pal, to turn professional, and the agent or the promoter was late. So my dad and his mate went on the gargle. So that was the end of the professional career. He was a good boxer, and he's still, he's 83 this month, and he's still heavily involved, he still does the coaching. As I say, he's like the little owl lad in Rocky. So he knows I say that about him. But so he's heavily involved still. But as I said, he was a very good boxer, yeah.
Are you a Liverpool supporter? I know we mentioned missing the game this afternoon. You were refereeing.
I'm a Liverpool supporter, yeah. Now I know, look at this, Liverpool has some great teams.
Yeah.
Between Everton, Tranmere and the whole lot, So,
oh, yeah.
But it's, I suppose, I'm originally from Dublin, so I suppose the close proximity, as we all know, Dublin, Liverpool.
Yeah.
And as a young lad, I suppose probably 1985, 86 was my first time in Anfield. And I was involved with a kind of I think they were under 13, 14 football team. We went across as a kind of a trip, the end of the year trip.
Yeah.
And I always remember Ronnie Whelan scored a hat-trick actually that day. I don't think Ronnie has ever scored a hat-trick.
Do you know what I think at the time? I used one of the most underrated players until he left.
Yeah. But they were great. There was some great bands with Everton even, around that time. It was really competitive. And Kevin Sheehy was then playing. He played then obviously with Everton as well. So there was a lot of Irish lads featured in for both sides,
Yeah.
So but But yeah, I'm a red, yeah.
Oh, good man. But my uncle plays for them in the 60s, Jimmy Melia. He's best
All
known.
right, yeah, that's how the name is. Yeah, because I knew the name rung a bell, but
yeah.
So that's the connection, yeah.
People remember him as being the manager of Brighton when they took Man United to the FA Cup final. Got a draw at Wembley, but
That's I remember it, yeah. I remember. Did he land in the Seagulls had landed? Did he land in a big helicopter?
That's right, yeah, with his white dancing shoes on. And
that's yeah. I remember that. Jeez, that's a long time ago now.
It is indeed.
That's why I took it to a replay. So that was your uncle, yeah?
It was my uncle. He's over in Houston now in Texas in his 80s. I think he was coaching, a couple of the local teams over there.
Super, yeah. At least it's a bit warmer over there.
Yeah, a little bit better climate, yeah. So you're writing about what you know then, Paddy? Baxter's Boys.
That's it. Well, look, as I said, I was brought up in the north inner city in Dublin, and my dad, I always remember my dad in the 70s and 80s, him and a group of men got together because at that stage, obviously, very, very, I mean, look at, it's Liverpool and Ireland, and Dublin. I mean, the similarities are, to go hand in hand.
Exactly.
We had a terrible unemployment situation in Ireland, and it was still rife in the 70s, and then heroin started to come in just around the late 70s, and it decimated the area. I mean, geez, there was lovely lads and girls, and they were turned into zombies overnight,
Yeah.
So my father and the local men and the local women did fundraising and all. They all got together. So they formed a football team, Dorset Boys. And I suppose that's part of the inspiration for the book, is that through comradeship, through sport, it gives some people, a chance to escape the horrors of life, if you know, the realities of it, and also maybe giving them a chance to not fall by the wayside. Yeah. So that's kind of a big part of sport, yeah. So social commentary as well as what I write about, But as I said, nobody wants to be listening to some fella giving out all the time, or dragging you down. You want a bit of fun. So I kind of try to write dark comedy, but with a social, with a kind of a message, or I don't know. I don't want to be preaching to people. I just want you to read the book. If you like it, great, and if you don't, okay, no problem. Buy the next one. So you write about what you know.
I think one of the reasons I sort of wanted to chat to you so much was it's the great deal of similarities with my own novel, set, a dysfunctional family, little work class kid who's sort of robbing wherever he can here and there just to make ends meet, just to get money so he can go and see a film at the local picture house. Yeah. You got a Scouse character, Pa Baxter. He's the
Pa Baxter, the Scouser. Yeah. You have to have, this story, although it's set in Dublin and we have a Scouse manager, it could quite easily be set in Liverpool with a Dublin manager, because again, the crossover and the similarities are phenomenal. But Baxter, I suppose I had a manager, a coach one time, and his name was Baxter Dorden. So Pa Baxter, that's kind of where the idea came in. But the Scouse manager, he's been around the block, and we don't know why he's left Liverpool. Yeah, but he's in Dublin.
Something dodgy.
And he likes the boards, as he calls it. He loves the women. Yeah. Even though he's getting a bit on in years, he still loves the women, and his whole life is as he says, it's boards, bills, and balls. So he loves football, loves women, loves the bills, and he's not the fella you'd normally have at the helm of a team if you wanted to do good. But actually, he's the right fella, because he's been there, done that, and he's seen it all. Yeah. And then he tries to kind of impart some of his hard-learned knowledge on the younger lads he's managing. But you couldn't, I said, I love Liverpool. I love the people. The similarities are brilliant. And I said, this story could be said anywhere. And I think the crossover as well, that people will know somebody that's playing for this team, or all of them. We all know these characters. Yeah. And as I said, some of them look at their they do a bit of robbing, they do a bit of whatever else and the whole lot. And it's fun, but as I said, they're inherently good people.
Yeah.
So that's...
Okay. David Byrne, the main character, is that based on elements of yourself? Is it your youth, the memory?
Well, I can't own up to some things. I've had a lot of mates saying when they read the book, they said, is that me? Is that, So as I said, any similarities are only a coincidence.
Yeah.
for legal reasons.
I know what you mean. I've got a couple of scary mates, and I think intentionally I put my characters as sort of a mixture between different, traits from my mate John, my mate Fred, my mate George, melded them together into an unknown character, a fictional character.
That's exactly, you do. You combine that. But I remember I had the first draft of the book done a couple of years ago, and the mate says to me, he said, yeah, it's lovely. He said, I love them. I think they're mad and this, that, and the other. He said, but you've one element you're missing. I said, what was that? He said, you have no normal guy, no normal fella in it. There's no normal player.
Yeah.
And he said, so everyone is mad, but you've nothing to base them off of. So he said, you'll have to introduce some kind of, I suppose, kind of a character that's the base mark.
Yeah, like an
that you
everyman.
can measure all these loopers off of. So I introduce a lad that, without giving too much away, introduce a lad that works for the social.
Oh yeah. Oh, be careful with him.
There you go. So
he knows things.
and he has a backstory as well. But so we introduce that. So yeah, as you said, it's a combination of lots of people we know in our lives, and then you take a bit of here and a bit of there, So
Is it last year this published, January 2020?
January 2020, yeah. Like, talk about timing. I tell you, I had a book launch in a brewery. Where else are you going to have where else are you going to have a lunch about a mad football team in a brewery? Factory. Well, it was down. I'm based now even though I'm from Dublin, I'm based living in Killarney.
Okay.
Down in County Kerry, so it's kind of like the Cornwall of England, that part of the world. And there's a lad I know has a brewery, the Killarney Brewery it's called. So I said to him, I think this is ideal for what I own. So fair play. He said, no problem, you can have it. He said, won't charge you, because he knew there was going to be a lot of lads that like to wet their whistles, so he wasn't going to be at a loss. So that's where we had it. So that was literally, I'm not joking, about 2 or 3 weeks before lockdown. That happened. So it was a great night, and I said, this is super. And then, as I said, about 2 or 3 weeks later, zoom, lockdown. So all the bookshops closed, couldn't get it out into them, So then after that was kind of social media and word of mouth to get it out. But it's a long time. Like, this project is a long time. I had written this kind of as a 6-part screenplay. I love screenwriting, I like writing scripts. That's kind of where, most of the interest I have in writing is script writing. And I banged this off to the BBC about 17 years ago, I'd say.
As a screenplay?
Yeah. With a 6-part TV series in mind, Because again, as I said, like, football is known the world over, and these type of characters, you'll find them anywhere. So, it's an easy fit for anywhere, So I said, I'll send it over to them. And I do a couple of other projects back and forth with them. But it's very expensive to make new stuff. And then it's very expensive to kind of take a punt on a new writer. But I thought, as soon as I write this, geez, they're going to be queuing up to throw money at me. And this is
the hopes of a writer. Yeah, the normal hopes of a writer.
So look, I sent it there, and in fairness to them, there's very few places you can send an unsolicited manuscript to, So the BBC, they gave me feedback, and then I parked it, and the man said, life took over. I have 3 children, and my job took over the whole. So I put all the stuff I'd written into a drawer and forgot about it. And then it's only about 3 years ago, I kind of got back writing, and the mother said to me, Jesus, will you finish something? She says, before I die, so I can see something. So that's what I did. So I got back, and then I put it then into the format of a novel. And in fairness, the 17 years or whatever that it was lying idle, and when I reworked on it, it's definitely improved, Even if you write something, leave it for 6 months, yourself. Terry, when you go back to it, you're going to improve on it.
Exactly.
So we're still hoping to get back and get finance to make it into a TV series. And like, I suppose the vast majority of reviews I've had from the book, whether it be men or women, they've all said this would make a very, very good TV series or a film. because I said it's a social commentary.
Mm.
You know, it's kind of like I love the likes of Ken Loach.
Oh yeah.
You know,
Realistic
that
dramas.
to me is, you know, Ken Loach has his finger on the pulse.
Yeah.
The mind all these gobshite politicians, and you know, there are a few good politicians. We know there's a few good people, but I think the system strangles the good ones.
Mm.
And I've no faith whatsoever in the vast majority of them.
Mm.
And I don't know whether that's coming from my background or whatever, but there's very few of them that I would say that they're good people or they're doing good things, because I think most of them are swallowed up in a poisonous system without getting too political. Yeah. Like I suppose when I was a young lad now, I remember Boys from the Black Stuff.
Oh, brilliant! Yeah, groundbreaking.
Yeah, that was like, and what's funny about that is that at the time there was a lot of people kind of took it as a comedy. Now, I know that's going to sound strange because. I mean, Jesus Christ, it was no more a comedy. Like, there was comic, obviously, some very funny you know, parts in it.
Yeah.
But I mean, it was a very, very poignant story.
It was.
But I suppose, like that, there was so many different characters also in that, even though Yazza Hughes, obviously, Jermaine, you know, gives a job.
Yeah.
But so I think these things can work, but it takes a lot of money, you know. There was another thing there written a few years ago. I presume you've seen it, Terry. Was Clocking Off by Abbott. Is it Terry Abbott? No, Clocking Off by. It was based in a textile factory.
Yeah, wasn't Jimmy McGovern?
I don't think Jimmy wrote it. I tried to think, because I watched Time there recently. Yeah. Jimmy McGovern's one with Sean Bean and that. Yeah. That was I thought that was excellent.
Yeah.
But what your man Abbott did was it was a textile factory, and I think it was a 6-parter, but he told the story each week from one character's perspective. Yeah. And then they all joined up, you know. Yeah. And I kind of tried to write like that there's lots of things going on, you know, the stories crisscrossing and the whole lot. But ultimately they'll all come to a head and come together, you know. So as I said, with Baxter's Boys, it's a kind of an unlikely cup run. But that's just the skeleton to the story, you know, that we hang the story on. It's the community, you know, like as I said, like the cover of the book, like, is I wanted flats like you know, all our the high tower terrorized flats, and Ballymun then, which will be very obviously was the very famous tower blocks in Dublin. They've since been demolished. So the ones I used for my cover, I think we flew them in from Estonia. Oh, yeah. You know, and superimpose them. Yeah. But I wanted that kind of look of a kind of a no-go area. Yeah. An eclectic community. You know, everyone's let them down. Yeah. And they've kind of given up hope. And then this football team end up having to move ground, and they're put into this place. And it's a kip, it's an alpha kip. Nobody wants to play there. And the lads are just being lads, you know, they're more into women and drinking and the whole lot. And they don't care about the community. They don't see the problems in the community initially, but then they kind of see the problems, you know, and then they kind of do stuff about it. So that's, as you said, loads and loads of characters in it. There's a full array, you know, full team sheet there. And that was one thing when I was working on the screenplay, and a bit of the feedback was try to kind of reduce the amount of characters, if you like. You know, they'll be bit parts, they'll be in the background, but to concentrate. So I've kind of 3 main players, and then the manager, I think, is a big say. I think he's a big character in it as well, you know, in his own way. So we'll see, you know, we'll look at it. As a man said, I'll try. God loves a trier, and I'll try.
I did a similar thing. I wrote an initial screenplay. I did a screenwriting course 20 years ago. My novel was based on a screenplay, which I fleshed out into the novel. And I'm trying to go the opposite way now. I'm trying to write a screenplay based on the novel. But I found that there's so much internal thought, you know, from the main character. A lot of it's, you know, what goes on inside his head, and you can't visually portray that.
No. And that's I mean, that's a skill in itself. Like, as I said, I started off probably writing short stories, and then I said, right, I'm going to write short films and screen. So that the screenwriting was what I was kind of drawn towards. And as you said, then that's a whole different thought process, because it's show, don't tell. You know, it's arrive late to a
Yeah,
scene, leave early.
yeah.
You don't have to be descriptive, because a good actor can just do something with their facial expression.
Yeah.
And that's it. You don't need 100 words or 1,000 words with that.
Yeah.
So I've gone full circle. I've gone from screenplay to book, and now I'm going back from book to screenplay. So, but you know, look, you do it because you enjoy it.
Yeah.
And if as a man, if you can get a few shillings out of it as well, that's great.
Yeah.
But you do it because you have a story you want to tell, you feel you need to tell. And that's it. And see, people seem to be enjoying it. That's, you know, there's, because you know yourself, when you write something, you're not sure how it will be received. Yeah. But it's been received very well. And as I said, even though the cover, you know, if someone looked at the cover to say that's just a bloke's book, you know, that's, but it's not. Like it's so much more. And gradually, like I have feedback now, say, from women who probably initially bought it for their fella. Yeah. And they've read it. And they've actually probably read it quicker than their fella, because lads are usually terrible for reading. Slow. You know, I remember doing it. I was doing a bit of research when I was doing the book, and in fiction in Ireland, and the statistics seem to be something similar in the UK, that of people who read fiction, 80% women, 20% men. Yeah. And that's phenomenal. Like that's, you know, and as I said, I've a big thing where I'm trying to encourage more men to read. Yeah. You know, because as I said, like every problem that's ever in the world, there's a solution in a book. True. Yeah. So, you know, you might get a guy and you say depression, just suffering from depression. Yeah. And a chap might not go out and buy a book about depression. He might be embarrassed, he might be whatever. Yeah. But if he's reading enough fiction, you will come across characters that's probably struggling like the person. And you might learn how they got out of it, even though it's fiction. There'll be some semblance of truth. Yeah. So I'm mad to get more men reading. That's a big kind of goal to me. I'm mad trying to get more working class people involved in the arts. So like I've written several short plays and we've put them on and they've been very well received. But I think anyone and everyone should have a go at this. You know, it shouldn't be like I didn't go to writing college. Like I'm a horticulturist by profession. Yeah,
that's easy for you to say.
There you go. I don't say that after a few drinks. But so that's where I am by profession. I'm a horticulturist. And again, where I came from in the city, we didn't have a garden until I was about 12 years of age when we moved from the flats, you know, and out of the inner city. Yeah. And I just love it. I love biology, plants and the whole lot, but I'd be kind of an exception from where I came from. And the same with the writing, does not have enough people jot down stories or poems or whatever. Yeah. And some of the most interesting people are the people that don't get their stories on paper or even record them, you know. Yeah. And I'm interested in them stories.
Well, you know, I get that so many people say to me, have you mentioned that you try and drop it into the conversation discreetly. I'm a writer, I've got a book out there. They say, oh, I've got an idea for a book in my head. I tell people, you can't tap a table with an idea in your head. You can with a rough draft of, 100 pages. Yeah. Bang the desk with it, get it out there, get it down and start writing.
Yeah. Well, as you said, like as soon as people know you have a book, and as I said, I'm intrigued about this hot summer of 1976 in Liverpool when things are coming of age. So I'll be definitely reading that, Terry, because that's right up my alley, you know. Yeah, and but as I said, the amount of people that as you said have an idea for a story, and I say, yeah, that's great. That's probably 5 pages.
Yeah.
What else happens? And they go, oh, Jesus, I don't know. So, but I'd say, jot it down. It might end up just being a short story, but jot it down and it might evolve, Yeah. But write about what you know. And people sometimes think, nobody be interested in what I write, because I've nothing really to tell. But the fact that you're telling stuff you hear on an ordinary day's basis, it might be very interesting, but it might be very important to document it. Like my mum and dad now grew up with, say, Brendan Behan. Brendan Behan only lived around the corner, right? And his favourite pub was Gill's in city centre there, just near the North Circle Road, Croke Park. And like Brendan obviously loved his pint, but Brendan could be gone missing for weeks. And then when he get a few quid, he'd be back in the pub and everyone got a share, right? He'd buy a drink all around him. But most of his stories were from listening to the ordinary people, men and women that were living around him. He was observing that, you know, what was normal, but actually it wasn't normal to everyone, you know. So I've had people reading Baxter's Boys and they're going, geez, that's very funny. Like, you know, that's, how did you make that up? And I'm thinking, I didn't make that up.
You got some excellent reviews. I'm just looking at the Amazon page now. 50 reviews. That's quite a landmark for Amazon, that.
Yeah, it is for there. And as I said, you don't know when you start this stuff, you don't know. Like, you know, you're hoping that, you know, obviously your mother says, oh, this is the best book I've ever read, or your probation officer is probably saying the same thing. I'm glad he's writing rather than robbing. Yeah. But yeah, and Goodreads now has been, the reviews on Goodreads have been super. In fairness, I had about, there's over 130 or something there.
Oh, brilliant. Yeah.
And for an ordinary chat, as you know, like when you write a book, it's very hard. It's very hard to get people to read your book. Yeah. First and foremost, and then even when you read your book, it's even harder to get them to review it. Yeah. You know, some people are kind of, I don't know whether they feel inadequate or something, that they read some of the other reviews and go, geez, I could never write something there. Yeah. Yeah. But as I said to them, even right, it was great. Yeah. Made you laugh. I mean, that's everything. Made you laugh. Super. Made me cry and laugh. Yeah. You know, so it doesn't have to be a thesis, you know,
just short and sweet. Yeah.
Yeah, and give it as a man said, give it an old star rating. But as I said, it's like I was in, because I'd written this as a screenplay initially, and then it took, you know, you're sending stuff back and forth. It's all time. It takes time.
Oh yeah, 3 months. Yeah.
Yeah, you know, and then you're back and forth. You make amendments, changes. You know, you do one draft and then 20 drafts later, you know, you're still touching up and all. Yeah. So when I parked it, and then when I finally decided to put it into a book, I never sent it to a publisher. I had this book, I had it all written, and it's 115,000 words, right? So I think the industry norm is about 90,000 words, right? About 80,000 for a book of fiction. So I had 115,000 words, and I said, and I'd edited and edited and edited. I knew I had a good story, and I knew I had it put together right, because I could visualize it, because I write the same way as if I'm watching a film. You know, I see it, and that's why people, when they read it, say, I can imagine that as a film or TV. So can I. That's the way I write. Yeah. So you know, you do all that, and then I said, right, I have this. I'm not going to waste more time. I said, sending this out to loads of publishers. I want to print it. I want to print it now. Yeah. So I got in contact with this woman, Orla Kelly Publishing.
Oh yeah.
And I just rang her up and said, will you do me a favor? Have a quick look at this. Do you want to publish it? So she rang back the next morning. Yeah, straight away. Yeah.
Brilliant. Yeah.
Now she's a very small, you know, she's a very small publisher, if you like. Yeah. In the overall game, you know, she's not a Penguin or Hatchet or you know all of these. So I suppose, in hindsight, maybe I should have sent it to all the big publishers. I should have gone about it that way, because they probably would have done a lot more of the hard work. You know, so I've been kind of down a lonely furrow, and you know, everything that I've achieved with it, will say, I've kind of had to do it myself. Yeah. Now I've learned a lot by it, but as I said, I think I'd rather someone else doing a lot of the work, because when you're doing all of that, you have very little time to write. So in fairness, Jack Bourne, now I didn't know.
I was just going to mention him.
Yeah,
he's connected us together.
Yeah, I didn't know Jack from Adam, right? And what it was, I seen a post on, I'd say it was Irish in Liverpool Facebook page or somewhere like that, and Jack was saying that he'd written a new book, and it was based partly in Ireland, partly in Liverpool, and he was looking for somebody to kind of throw their eye over the first couple of chapters to see, was it real? Was it true the way maybe people had, because it starts off in the 70s in Ireland. So was it kind of true?
This is the Under the Bridge novel?
No, this is the next one.
Yeah.
So Under the Bridge, as you said, the first one. So it's well, the working title is The Wicklow Boys.
Yeah.
So I don't know whether that'll be the actual title.
Yeah.
So he sent me on the 3 chapters. Now, I had no idea who Jack was at this stage. And I just thought, the chap is starting off. In fairness, I'd had people helping me, and I try to help others if I can, because I think that's what you should do in life. And anyway,
Yeah.
So I read the first 3 chapters, very impressed, and the language, it was all authentic, it was believable for the time and so forth.
Yeah.
A couple of minor little words where we say, for example, mate, use mate in Liverpool a lot, right? Whereas in Dublin, it would be probably pal. So just small little things. But so fair play. I got back to Jack and I said, look, very impressed. Loved it. You're on the right track. Best of luck, mate. And he says, will you read the next few chapters? So he ended up reading, I don't know, I think it could be about 34 chapters about the whole book. And then I kind of said, you know what, I better actually look up who the chap is. And I seen then he had Under the Bridge. Yeah. And obviously he was a very, very serious writer. Done a load of bits and pieces through the Liverpool festivals and writing festivals and so forth. So fair play. Tremendous book. I think it's brilliant. I think, again, it'd make a good film or a TV thing as well. Yeah. And, I'm delighted with him, with his product. Is, the book he's done is superb. So fair play. Then Jack said, right, well, look at, have you an agent? And I said, no, I've nobody. I didn't even I just literally wanted this book printed, got out and Dola. So in fairness, he's given me kind of a lead. And so for the second book, I'm kind of a good ways through the second book. I'll approach the agent, the recommendation there as well,
The one based on the Liverpool agent.
All it is, I want to send it to someone else to do all the hard work that has the connections. I have 2 projects on the go. So the second novel, I won't give too much away because I can't find anyone ever doing this, right? Yeah. Now, it's not necessarily legal for that, as in what they do in the story, but it'll be funny when it comes out, and there's a story behind that. But that's another book, another dark comedy, and that originally started out as, I wrote it as a feature film, and had that back and forth with the BBC. Again, I thought, send this over to the BBC. They'd be ringing me up, sending a limo around, and I'd be on the pig's back. But in fairness to them, they gave me feedback, and they were right. Like they were definitely right about certain aspects to it, and I've improved upon that. So I'm going to put that into a book. I'm about 3/4 of the way through at that stage. Yeah. But what I have is, I had a full-length feature film script to work from, to adapt it back to a book. So I have the whole story. I know beginning, middle, and end, and it's definitely improved the fact that I left it live for so long. Yeah. So I won't tell you too much more about it because it's different, right?
Yeah, sounds intriguing.
And then I'm also working on a feature film with another lad. Again, the way it's like this game, you meet one person introduces to the other, But there's a lad I met, Les Martin, his name is, and he's an actor. He was in a lot of plays back in the day, but he co-wrote a film called, Be Good or Be Gone. Yeah. And basically what it is, it's based about two cousins getting out of Mountjoy prison in Dublin for 4 days on temporary release. And one of them wants to go straight and get back with his ex and see his child. And the other one, his other cousin, is a bit of a dreamer in the whole lot. So he had that film out, super film, well worth a look. Again, the lockdown hit him. It only got into a couple of cinemas, with the whole pandemic and all. So I'm co-writing a film with him now about a very serious subject. So a bit different from the comedy. I don't think I have much comedy in this one, but again, it's a story needs to be told. So again, I'm getting back to me screenwriting kind of roots, I suppose, as you, if you want to say it. And I'm very interested in that project. We've the first draft done, so we've to keep it under wraps for a minute because we're trying to hit the film board for a bit of funding.
Brilliant.
And look, we'll see how that goes. But it's quite a topical issue. Needs to be tackled. Needs to be brought out in the open a bit more. And so maybe sometimes, you know, when you have an idea like that and it's important to socially, sometimes you can get a few bob to make it, you know.
Yeah.
But what's interesting, even like you said, with all this back and forth, there's an incident in Baxter's Boys, and it's about a sexual assault, but from a football coach abusing a player, you know. And I had this story written years and years ago.
Yeah.
But when it finally came out, a lad got in contact with me, a chap called Mike Smith, and he was from Dublin originally, and he's come out and spoke about this, but he was a victim of a coach abusing him, and he ended up he moved to England, this lad, and he ended up becoming a policeman in Wales, and had a career there. He's recently retired, but he was on the radio there not so long. He's heavily involved with kind of speaking out against abuse in sport, and then the BBC did it. Was it the BBC or Panorama or something? They had a big expose there recently in the last couple, maybe 2 or 3 years, about sexual predators in sport. Yeah. And some former professional players had come out and spoke about it and all. Yeah. And they reckon there's a lot more lads won't come out and speak about it, you know, for lots of different reasons, and you can understand, you know.
Oh yeah.
And so that was in the book, and I wrote the story because I said I wrote there's loads of different issues in it: homelessness, drug abuse, domestic abuse, you know, the whole lot. Yeah. But this guy touched base with me, got in touch, and he said, I read your book. He said, I laughed and I cried. And he said, because the bit what you done in it was right, and you know, he said it needs to be told, it needs to be got out in the open. So it was kind of like he was relieved at it, that this was becoming more spoken about, if you like, you know. And
out in the open.
Yeah. So I think if you can do good by doing something and even helping one person, that's an achievement in itself. So someone asked me, what's success? You know, success obviously is measured different things by different people. Would I love to sell 100 million copies? Of course I would. You know, if you're a lawyer, if you didn't.
Yeah.
But success to me, now, that was success. That lad reaching out and getting contact. And I didn't know him.
Yeah.
And he was from the same area I grew up in, and near enough around the same time frame. He was probably a couple of years older. And it helped him. And I thought, that's success.
Yeah.
It is a comedy. The book is a comedy, as I keep telling people. You know, it's not all serious.
Well, some of the best comedy comes from tragedy, doesn't it? You know, like look at the old television series Steptoe's Son. Going back to Boys from the Black stuff, you know, Yoz's story. Yeah. The episode with him, and that was, you know, was an immense tragedy. You know, his children taken away from him, his life destroyed, his home taken away.
Yeah, like it's
trying to kill himself.
Yeah, like it's horrendous stuff, like, you know.
Yeah.
And you just said, but I think. I don't know. I think maybe I definitely know working class people do, because that's where I'm from. You know, like mine, I had relations used to sell fruit and veg on Moore Street in Dublin. You know, so we came from right in the heart of the city, and I think because there was so much hardship and, you know, tragedy and this and the other, I think they dealt with grief through humor.
Yeah.
And I think that rubs off, you know, and. You know, that kind of camaraderie, that kind of, it's probably us against the world maybe, and you know, and I love that. And actually, there's a small bit in the second book, without giving away, but it's what happened to Liverpool. They talk about, you know, managed decline, and Thatcher's policy, and the way they destroyed Liverpool, it, like, you know. Now, I see huge similarities in Dublin right now. I don't know whether you're aware of house prices in Dublin and all, but I mean,
there's a roof on me.
It's unbelievable, and it's horrendous. And like all the social housing, you know, all the flats complex and all, they've been boarded up, they've been knocked down, and fancy apartment blocks are being built. but you'd want to be winning the lottery every week to afford the rent.
Yeah.
So the ordinary people are being pushed out. And to me, there's huge similarities to what Thatcher and her government did.
Yeah.
And they don't care about the people. You know, the people can be like this, that, the other. But as I said, working class people were always very good at standing up together.
Yeah.
And if you don't stand together,
yeah,
you will invariably fail.
Exactly. Yeah, totally agree.
You know, you need a backbone. And as I said, the similarities between Liverpool, particularly Dublin, because obviously that's where I grew up.
Yeah.
You know, when they stood together, they had success.
Yeah.
You know,
it's the only thing they have, isn't it? Is each other.
That's it. And you can't rely on anyone else but yourselves. You know, but your own tribe. And I said, I think still to this day, that's why I think the Irish people and Liverpudlians and the whole, why we get on maybe so well. It's that kind of, we came from the same, well, obviously a lot of Irish people went there, you know, but we kind of came from the same, like we were definitely low down on the food chain. well, I suppose I have a Baxter's Boys Facebook page, right?
Okay, yeah, I'm on there, yeah.
Yeah,
I'll connect with that.
There's a lot of relevant stuff there, and they constantly put links there, you know, into Goodreads and Amazon and so forth. I suppose that's the best place. Yeah, you know, that's, as I said, if anything, go there first, and people be able to keep up with me. I'm on Twitter then as well. I think trying to think, am I on still as Paddy Osborne? You are 71. I think I might be still as that on Twitter. And again, anyone wants to follow me. Most of the stuff is lighthearted. You know, the ability to laugh at oneself is very important, you know.
That's a gift.
Yeah, it's a gift. It's a gift. And as I said, I look forward, delighted to make your acquaintance, Terry. And as I said,
likewise.
I look forward to reading that book, you know, as I said, and I think everyone has a story. And as I said, it's just a matter of, don't be talking about it, get it down on paper.
Yeah, get it out your head.
You know. So, lovely to chat, Terry.
Yeah, I've really enjoyed it.
And I said, and a big shout out to Jack Bourne. Thanks very much, Jack, for making the introduction.
I'm going to send them not an email. Well, actually, I do talk to them through email and through Twitter mainly. But yeah, I'll get in touch and say thanks.
Yeah, let us know when you're banging this out, and I'll share it around, and I'll get more. I'll make more people aware of your book then as well. You know, because as I said, I've a lot of pals that are regularly back and forth from matches and stuff. You know, and you know, and just from the inner city there, and yeah, I have a cousin of mine, another lad. They do a podcast there, Talking Bollocks. It's actually called.
Sounds good.
And in fairness, they've managed to go on to like morning TV show talking about it, and they interview lots of people. So actually, they had Roddy Doyle on this week. Yeah. So I got to meet Roddy because I like a lot of his stuff, you know. So I had a good yapper in there Monday, you know. He doesn't think I'm stalking him anymore, you know. It's all right, it's all good.
That's a great connection.
Incriminate ourselves.
No, not too much. No one's knocking at the door.
No. But look forward. And I said we'll share the love, and and I said we'll chat on Twitter.
Okay. Yeah.
You mind yourself.
Aye. You take care, Paddy. Been brilliant.
Thanks very much, Terry.
Cheers, mate.
Enjoyed it.
Cheers, pal.